Welcome to a special series of This Week in Canton City Schools, where we will focus on the mental health and wellness of our kids and families. I'm Jacqueline Power, the Broadcast Media Program Instructor here at the Timken Career Campus of McKinley High School and your host today. The Canton City School District continues to partner with the Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health Agency. This agency provides a myriad of resources to the Stark County community and, most importantly, to our students within CCSD. Each month, we will feature resources and strategies to help the mental well-being of our young people. On this episode, we are talking with Ashlie Lamp and Erika Wood, qualified mental health services supervisors of child and adolescent behavioral health, to discuss their roles and responsibilities as QMHSs. Sit tight, all of that starts right now. As we continue to look for ways to have a healthy, happy, balanced lifestyle, there's no greater need than to work with our mental health and wellness to meet the unique needs of our changing world around us. I know for me, daily stressors can build up over time, and I'm not always great at acknowledging those moments, and I find myself a little less grounded and balanced. This series of shows with the Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health Agency will feature all kinds of different ways to address some of the common setbacks we face today. On this particular episode, we have Ashlie Lamp and Erika Wood, qualified mental health services case manager supervisors, discussing the services they provide through CNA. So thank you both for being here today. I know you're super excited to sit on the other side of the table with all these cameras and lights. So Ashlie, tell me a little bit about yourself, where you grew up, your career.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, absolutely.
So I grew up in Massillon, born and raised, lived there my whole life, graduated from Massillon High School. When I was younger, my parents were foster parents. I actually have a brother who was adopted, so that kind of led me to the helping profession. I started out as a preschool teacher and taught preschool for 5 years and noticed some of the social emotional challenges in preschool and really wanted to dive in and do more. So then I decided to go to Malone, which is where I got my undergraduate degree in social work. And then I furthered my education by going to Case Western Reserve University and got my master's in social work as well.
I mean, you've been all over the place.
Yes.
Like, that's a lot of education, and to start as a preschool teacher. Oh my gosh, God bless you for the preschool. They're so little, and I feel like, oh my gosh, what do you do with them? They show up and there's 20 of them in a room together. You're like, oh my gosh. So, I mean, that's a really cool way to kind of blend in. I'm finding a theme as we talk to some of the professionals from CNA, that education and the world of mental health and wellness really are like this perfect little marriage, and one can sometimes lead to the other. So it's pretty cool that you have that background to go with it. So I guess along those same lines, how about you? Background, career, how'd you get here?
So I grew up in Minerva, Ohio, and graduated from Minerva High School. I attended Tiffin University for my undergrad, and I actually have a bachelor's of criminal justice with a focus in forensic psychology. So
I'm so jealous. I'm so obsessed with that field. So that's really, really cool to me. I'm fascinated by it. So
yeah. So when I got done with my undergrad, I didn't have a job, so I was looking for places, and I ended up in our group mentoring program that we used to have at CNA, and that was when I began my employment with CNA. And through that, I was drawn to the group counseling and working with kids, which I never really had thought about before. Yeah. So that led me to get my master's in counseling and human development from Walsh. And yeah, they have a great program there for master's degree.
Yeah, absolutely. So you did kind of talk a little bit about your emergence into, so how did you first become affiliated with Child and Adolescent Services?
So I first applied to be a master's level intern in early 2016, was accepted to do that for the agency. And then through starting that, I decided I wanted to apply for a job. So then I actually became a qualified mental health specialist, and that's kind of how I started. And I've done a little bit of everything at Child and Adolescent. I've done case management, I've done prevention, I've done AOD prevention, office-based therapy, school-based therapy, and now I'm here as a QMHS supervisor.
It's, again, like this incredible little journey. So I feel like for both of you, it seems like your paths, directed you to where you are right now, and you both sound like you've really come from unique backgrounds. So Ashlie, for our viewers, tell us what a qualified mental health services provider is, and how does that differ from a case manager therapist?
Okay, so in QMHS, because it's a mouthful, so we use QMHS to kind of abbreviate and break it down a little bit. They are credentialed through Medicaid as QMHSs, and these are people who have special training in mental health competencies, or they have undergraduate, and in some cases we actually do have master's level QMHSs. So they've gone through a lot of training and education, and they're qualified people to assist with some of the mental health struggles that our clients might come in with. So what they can do is they can provide healthy conflict resolution with our kids, teach them those skills, help to manage frustration and anger, some social and performance anxiety, disappointment, help with coping with change, teach positive parenting strategies to the parents that they're working with, help to link to other mental health services and other community agencies to help meet the needs that our clients are facing. And they can also work with the therapist to help reinforce the skills that these kids are learning in therapy. And so the way that differs from therapy and being assigned to a therapist, so our therapists are all master's graduate degree clinicians, so they have a lot of education, a lot of training. And so the way things differ is when an issue or a struggle warrants a medical or mental health diagnosis and those symptoms are impacting daily living, then a therapist should be working with a kid. So it's more like some of our minor things our QMHSs are helping to manage, but a therapist would deal with our more serious things like significant anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation, self-harm, trauma. And then through those two things, we also sometimes bring them together and work as a team and have both of those people involved just so the client has the additional support and help that they need.
I know we've talked to a couple different folks on the set, and that's kind of that same theme, that working together, taking multiple pieces and moving parts and kind of putting them into a full puzzle so that it's not in isolation, that communication pathway is opened up. So qualified mental health specialists. So Erika, they work in the schools, similar to school-based provider, or is the role more supportive outside of the school building? Like, how does that work?
So they work in the schools, the home, the community. I mean, it all varies and is based upon the needs of the individual child. At this time, our QMHS providers are not able to see unopened kids in the school setting. Our school-based therapists, through our contracts with the schools, are able to see unopened clients to help link for that service, but QMHSs are not able to do that. But they are geographically located, so we have different providers within different school districts, so that allows them to be more consistently present in the schools and get to know, some of the staff at administration, and really kind of be there, like Ashlie was saying, to work with the therapist as well to kind of wrap around that child and provide the support the kid needs.
So Stark County, obviously a fairly large county. How are you able to provide those QMHS providers across the county? How are they broken up? Maybe territories, different places?
So not too long ago, QMHSs were kind of traveling all over the county. Erika and I have worked very hard to help them to not do that so that they can focus their attention in one area. So at the current time, we do have 1 to 2 providers assigned to each of the school districts. And that just helps get that face in the community so people learn who their people are and learn that they are a trusted person to go to should there be a need for mental health services.
So a little bit of consistency then. So not only for the agency and the individuals working for the agency, but those that they're serving.
Yes.
So I feel like, again, that's a perfect way to blend together appropriate services, because kind of that, when we talk about mental health and wellness, consistency is a big piece of that. Whether it's you're looking at the mental health and wellness in a classroom setting and beyond. So it makes perfect sense. So Erika, I understand school-based provider at Sandy Valley. How do you balance both roles? And then does this also give you a unique perspective on how the school-based provider and the QMHSs provide work better to serve the client?
So I believe it's easy for me to balance both roles because they do overlap in so many ways.
Okay.
Like Ashlie, I was a QMHS once as well. I've kind of had a variety of roles through the agency also. So I'm very aware of the challenges and rewards that kind of come with that job. I enjoy my supervisory role, but I also love getting to be in the school. I've been in Sandy Valley for about 7 years now, and it's just it's a very supportive school and community. But I feel like being that I've worked on both sides, the QMHS and therapist collaboration, I do have a unique perspective, and I feel the collaboration piece is very important in helping to address the variety of needs of the children that we see.
And that's a smaller school district, so you said you're a graduate of Minerva, I graduated from Carroll, and I still live in that small town. Sandy Valley is a little bit smaller than, your Carrollton or Minerva, a little along the lines of maybe Malvern. So for those that are city people and and have these great big schools all around them, like we're used to, like that smaller, close-knit, and you do get to know people. I mean, you're just like a couple of degrees of separation from almost all families. Seem like, oh, well, I know so-and-so, and oh, yeah. So I'm sure it feels a little bit like home in some ways with that particular environment. So Ashlie, for our viewers, to better understand, do clients who are seeing a therapist also have a QMHS provider, which we touched on just a little bit, and what determines if a client should or should not have one?
Sure. So not every client will have a QMHS and a therapist assigned to them. Okay. So at the time of intake, they go through an initial assessment, and during that time, the assessor determines what the need is. So initially, they might only be assigned to a therapist, or they might only be assigned to a QMHS. Through working with that client, the QMHS and the therapist, they can figure out what additional needs the kid might have, and from there they can make additional referrals if the child needs a QMHS and a therapist.
So again, that ongoing assessment, that continual communication, that kind of puts them at the forefront of what's going to make them the strongest and helping them along the way. Let's see, Erika, a client has a QMHS provider and not be seeing a therapist at CNA, which I think we did kind of answer that, but you could go ahead and clarify that, yeah.
Yeah, so absolutely. They can be seeing a QMHS provider and not a therapist. Like you kind of said, the assessment piece is really always ongoing and based off of whatever is going on. So if they are seeing a QMHS provider and they don't have a therapist, but a need arises that the QMHS provider, speaks with their supervisor and says, I really think that this kid would benefit from therapy services, that referral can always be done at that time. And typically, if like one service is kind of phasing out, like say that they're making a lot of progress, and it's like, okay, I think that they might not need therapy anymore, but we'll continue with QMHS. So those services can phase out as well whenever those improvements are starting to be seen in that process.
So again, looking at the whole picture, finding those puzzle pieces and making them work together, and it's a continually changing puzzle is what it feels like to me. So Ashlie, as someone interested in being a qualified mental health specialist, is there a specific degree? What do they need to do? Certification they would need? And does CNA provide training or options within their agency?
Okay, so QMHSs do not have to have a specific degree.
Okay.
They're coming in with at least 3 years of experience in the mental health field and some training, but most of our current providers have at least a bachelor's degree, and there's not a specific degree, it's just a related field. So if they have an education degree or a social work degree or psychology degree, just something along those lines that gives them the extra mental health training that they would need in order to fulfill the role.
Services maybe that, so I have a media degree first, and then I have an add-on education degree and a master's in education as well. and I'm like, okay, I'm going to make this big leap to do this. When I'm there, what kind of training am I going to go through as a part of the agency to get ready for that particular job?
Okay, so when a QMHS first starts, they go through a week of orientation. It's a whole week long where they learn our computer system, they learn all the different services we provide, some extra support on how to help our clients. And then from there, we do 2 weeks of shadowing current QMHSs. So they get to know the communities, they get to know clients and presenting concerns. They learn some interventions that they could use with their own clients. They learn more about our computer system because that is definitely a challenging part of our job.
It's a challenging part of every field.
Right.
It helps, but it's also, if you don't know the processes and the protocols, I'm sure there is a lot of time that has to be spent in that little chunk.
From there, it's just ongoing supervision, like meeting weekly with your supervisor, talking about cases, any challenges that might come up, how your supervisor can assist you and support you. The supervisor would provide ideas for interventions or ways to address whatever concerns they might have. There's definitely ongoing training throughout a person's time at CNA. They also offer tons of trainings throughout the year that QMHSs can sit in on and learn about strategies and interventions and increase their skills.
So plenty of professional development, like we would call it in the education field.
Yes, and a lot of collaboration as well. Working with the therapist, getting ideas from the therapist, like, hey, what are you learning or what are you teaching in therapy? How can I help support that in my sessions? And just kind of bouncing ideas off of each other.
Co-teaching.
Yes.
I get it. It's right there. Yes. I can see the whole picture. So how would someone apply to be one?
So for someone who's interested in applying, they could visit our website at www.childandadolescent.org. Along the top that says careers, that will drop down when you click on it and click on careers. Scroll down to where it says QMHS and click on that link. That'll take you to the job description and an overview of the duties and stuff on the job, and then it directs you to send your resume to recruiting@childandadolescent.org.
Okay, so it's all right there on the website, which that makes it really, really easy. So for either one of you, what does a typical day look like, as typical as it can be? I know they ask educators the same kind of questions. Well, what's a typical day? Well, there's a no typical day, but if there could be a typical day, along with the hours, how does that work?
So every day is different,
right?
Especially working with kids.
Yeah.
But typically, like, QMHS is a community-based service, so they're going to be out and about. They are never just tied down into an office and sitting somewhere waiting for people to come to them. So you get to travel the community, meet in parks. You might be at a school for the first part of the day and then do some home visits to work on parenting with client parents. We also fulfill contracts where we are helping to support other community agencies during day camps and after school programs. So they might be filling in there. So it's just really nice to not be locked into a specific location and be able to be out and about in the community.
And I would say the hours are super flexible too. Obviously during the summertime, I don't think a high school kid's going to want to wake up at 8 in the morning.
No, probably not. I don't like to wake up at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Right. So there is that flexible hours, or you might have, a parent that doesn't get off of work until 5, so they need to work a little bit later that day. So there is a lot of flexibility with the hours.
So that makes it nice that, and I think that's what, so many are looking for. They don't necessarily want the 9 to 5 sitting at a desk. I want to be out, and they want some of that social time, and I want a flexible schedule so I can, kind of do my own thing and then still be able to contribute to the community and people you care about. So did I skip over anything? I hope I didn't. Did we cover everything, or anything you guys want to add? Okay, I just wanted to make sure, because I feel like I was all over the place a little bit today. So, but thank you both for being here, bearing with me. For this particular episode. So we've mentioned the CNA website a couple of times, so for more information, you can visit the CNA website at www.childandadolescent.org, or you can call CNA office at 330-433-6075. Thanks to Dan Mucci, Marketing and Development Coordinator, Office of Mission Advancement of Child and Adolescent Behavioral Health, for helping to coordinate this episode. If future episodes, past episodes. As for the TV11 staff, we will continue to bring you an inside look at the district each week during the regular school year, in addition to this series of shows on mental health and wellness. So if you're a staff member and would like to have a feature story on our program, please email me at power_j@ccsdistrict.org and our station administrator, Bill Widener, at widener_b@ccsdistrict.org. Love to have you into the studio to showcase the valuable experiences our kids have here at the Kansas City School District and the supports we have in place to educate the whole child. Please visit our website at ccstv11.com, where you can get information on all of our shows and watch us on your favorite device. We'll see you next time.